everyone, welcome to the Digitize Fully Charged Podcast. I'm your host, Pam Curry. I'm joined, as always, by the lovely Niall Ridgway. I'm really excited about today's conversation with Aileen Wallace, a secondary school modern studies teacher from Falkirk in Scotland. And do you know what's fascinating about this chat with Aileen is that she was one of the people Niall and I see in our trainings who's kind of sceptical and reluctant and not keen to learn about our EdTech tools. But Aileen has done a full 360 turnaround on this, and now she's leading digital CLPL in her school. She's a massive fan of curate. Let's dive in and hear her story. Really excited by today's episode. We're joined by someone we've been following online for months and months. Aileen Wallace, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello there. I'm Aileen Wallace. I'm currently a modern studies teacher at Graham High School. Started teaching with Falkirk way back in 2005, and I am still there for my sins. Recent adoptee of all things EdTech and AI.
Brilliant.
Try and stop me.
So I've noticed this on LinkedIn. You've been saying a lot, like you're kind of new to this whole kind of like EdTech world. But how new are we talking? Like, how long have you been?
March 2023.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What was it that got you into all this?
Oh, this is my sob story. I had a couple of third-year classes that were basically reducing me to the point that I was sitting on the floor at home crying and I couldn't go in.
Sure.
And I had time off work for it. And I had said to my boss, I'm quitting. That's
wow.
it, I'm done. I tried everything. My faculty head had denied, tried everything. You know, the usual, competition between the classes, prizes, pizza parties, being tough with them. We tried everything, and I could not get the behaviour. And because I couldn't get the behaviour, we couldn't do the learning. You've got to get the behaviour first.
Absolutely.
And I had gone along to a session at the Apple RTC at the Falkirk Council, Falkirk area. And it was a Larbert High School teacher whose name I never remember. Mr. Llewellyn's all I remember. And it was how to use Glow. And I have loathed Glow since it came out. I just avoided it for as long as it was great. We went to America in 2013 and I was like, I can leave Glow behind. Bye. It was that bad. We emigrated.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who empathise with that. And the very last thing at this session, he made this throwaway comment about, and I used this curate thing a couple of times.
Sure.
And I was like, all right. So I went home, logged into it, played around with it, and that was me for the next 2 weeks sitting at home going, oh my God, you can see what I could do this. This is amazing. And we started using curate. As I've said a lot, it didn't cure all the problems, but it went from here to here.
Great.
And I had kids coming into the room with their iPads going, are we doing a curate today, miss? Yeah. And the iPads were out and the behaviour changed. And I thought,
fantastic.
This is how I do it. I get the EdTech to help me out. Instead of fighting the iPads, which I had done since they'd come out, and as soon as put them away, waste of time. Right, let's use the I thought I can use this. Stop fighting it and see what happens. And that's what's made the difference.
That's absolutely fascinating. Like, there's so much in there that I'm like, whoa. So like, I mean, like the levels of disengagement then and behaviour issues that are associated with that were severe.
Yeah.
And actually having an impact on your mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I was applying for jobs. I told my head teacher I was quitting. I had been off for 2 weeks. I was at the end of it. I'd had enough. Sure. And the EdTech, it doesn't solve everything. And there are still days where I will come home and rage and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But when you have kids running into your class going, I don't want to miss a minute. Or are we using this today? Are we using that today? Or they're asking for a quizzes. What they don't realise is they're asking for a retrieval practice.
Yes.
Right, yes.
They don't realise. Are we voting today? And what they don't realise is they've just said, could we please do some peer feedback?
You know what?
And if it was worded that way, no chance they would be doing it.
Exactly.
And said, okay, we're going to swap each other. We're going to, oh, for God's sake, have I got to? And they're doing it without realising they're doing it. And to me, it's brought back the joy for teaching for me, which had just gone. I was learning new stuff. I was getting excited about learning new stuff. I was taking that into the classroom and going, kids, I've just learned this new thing. It might not work, but would you mind trying it out with me? And they're, yeah, fine. Okay, we'll give it a go, miss. And if it doesn't work, they'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And if it does work, they'll be like, yeah, can we do that again? Can we do that again? So that is what's made it.
Super interesting, isn't it? So what you did as a professional really was, I mean, you were at the end of your tether. The fact that you were saying you were going to give up your job, that is remarkable.
Yeah, yep. I was going on job interviews and everything. I had enough. That was it. I was out. So I have gone from the teacher who sits up the back of the staff room on CPD days, doing her shopping list, rolling her eyes,
arms folded. Were you one of them?
Excuse the expression, playing bullshit bingo.
Aye.
Which worked until my head teacher sat next to me.
Got caught.
And I'm now leading sessions.
Brilliant.
Do you know what? That's your story has kind of blown my mind a little bit here today, because I think what you're describing is what fuels many of us who are passionate about EdTech, because we've seen the impact it can have on engagement and learning. And the children and young people we're dealing with these days are very different from the ones we dealt with 10 years ago. And that technology being ubiquitous in their lives is probably contributing to the disengagement, let's be honest.
Yes, it definitely is.
But the fact that you were one of the, I suppose we'd say, negative ones, the naysayers, the ones that are more reluctant, but you've now had this complete turnaround. That is fascinating to me.
So for me, I think I'm not a techie person. All right. I can barely make my computer work.
Amazing.
I can't do a spreadsheet. If the kid asks for a Glow password, haven't a clue, go and speak to someone. So I am not a techie person. And what I'm trying to say to people is you don't need to be the techie person.
Yeah.
You don't need to be the person who knows how to merge mail messages or to do EdTech nowadays. If you can do a PowerPoint or a Google search, you can use most of EdTech that's out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
if you can text your pal, you can use ChatGPT.
That's a powerful message. A powerful message, because do you know something? I've spoken about this before in a podcast where I used to work when you were abandoning Scotland and Glow. I probably worked for Glow then, and I was probably going around places going, guys, you really need to get on board with this Glow. But at the end of the day, you're right. There's a lot of things we've shown people that have just been too hard.
Yeah. Teachers, every year, your August in service, we get another new thing, and we know it's going to last 2 weeks, and then your head teacher's moved on to something else.
Yeah.
You know it. Yeah. And I think this is the problem we've got with AI and with EdTech stuff that's coming out now, is that teachers are sitting there going, just wait it out. It'll be fine. It'll go. And it's not. There's been lots of new articles popping up. I'm addicted to LinkedIn nowadays.
Yeah, it's the place.
I'm loving LinkedIn. I went there to find a job. I stayed for the crack.
Yep.
Because the jobs that kids are going to do now, schools aren't set up for them.
No.
It's the guidance teacher talking to them about the jobs that are coming out. No, they're not, because we're still going, you could be an architect, or you could work in an office, or those jobs aren't going to. One of the jobs that's most affected apparently by AI, lawyers.
Yes.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Because you now don't have to learn all those back case studies. No. You just go, I need a case study to compare my case to what have you got?
Yep.
So the jobs that are going to be out there, we haven't a clue.
No, I'm going to get the statistic wrong. I'm going to have to go back and double check with everything. But did I hear that it's something like 65% of jobs that our current P1s have will be jobs that we've never heard of? There's a statistic out there, something like that.
Yeah.
It was, Holly Clark's book. Sorry, I'm looking to find the book on the shelves here. Never mind the fact that I'm actually got flaming educational books on a shelf up here now. What is it? If 2005 me could see me now,
I bet,
She was saying that if you think about it, like you said, the jobs that our P1s are doing now, by the time they're graduating, we have no idea. I was talking to a class about this, and I said, look, when I was your age, the big exciting thing in Inverness, where I was born and grew up, was Littlewoods had automatic doors.
Hilarious.
And we thought we were living in Star Wars.
Yeah.
You go up to whoa, the doors
like, haha.
And yet I have the power,
Yeah.
That was the technological, and I've taken it to school. I've got genuine one. The little Nintendo Game and Watches, the little things that fold out, and you played one game on them.
Right.
Yeah.
I got given one of them for Christmas when they came out. I've no idea why my parents bought me it. I never liked the games, but I've still got it because I knew it cost a lot of money for them to buy me at the time. And I take it into school now and show the kids that was the height of tech. Yeah. So in that years when I got that to now, it's going to just speed up and speed up and speed up. Oh, yeah. So if we don't build this into schools, if teachers aren't able to use it themselves, what are we doing?
The challenge we've got though, Aileen, isn't it? It's the pace of change, isn't it?
And I have to say, since switching things up and going back into school since the last couple of months, I myself am noticing that I see things online and go, I'll deal with that another time, or I'll look at that another time. We were chatting about Grok the other day, and about like the big changes that are coming in there. And I looked at it and went, right, this is too much for me to deal with at the moment. I've got a million other things going through my head. I'll deal with this another time. And things are just like before that role was like, okay, right, I can keep up. I'm quite on it. I am noticing that things are a lot harder doing kind of both roles there, and things are just speeding up, and it is really quick. How fast things are changing.
I'm trying to frame it as JOMO, right? You know how everybody goes on about FOMO.
Yeah.
So I've decided I've got the joy of missing out.
Joy of missing out.
What it means is I'm not stressing about being up to speed with the latest thing coming out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm ready for it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So enjoy what I'm doing just now, get to grips with it. And when I'm ready to go on to the next greatest, latest thing, I'll go on to it. Or if you know what, if I have a look at it and it doesn't work for me, you don't need to use every single platform that's coming out.
Definitely.
There's loads of great ones out. But if it doesn't fit your style of teaching, don't force it in there.
Definitely not. And that's similar to, see, at Christmas time or just after, when America was losing TikTok, and on a personal level, not a school level.
Yeah.
And everybody was jumping to Rednote.
Yes.
And this one app was going to change the world, and all the Western side of the world was going to Rednote. I've not seen anybody mention this app for the last couple of months. It was right at the top and totally disappeared again.
It's because they switched TikTok back on again.
For here.
Yeah. Like that. The Americans went back on TikTok and everyone forgot about Rednote.
Nobody in America, nobody was contacting their congressperson about, I don't know, poisons in their water or changes in their constituency boundaries or corruption in their government. As soon as that was it. Oh, hell's going these can't get TikTok. I'm like, oh my God.
That's it. And so Aileen, the big turning point for you in this was someone's kind of last end of the session mention of Curapod.
Yeah.
Why was that? What was it about Curapod that was just so different for you?
I think the fact that I could get the kids engaged and doing something on their iPads and get it instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to take jotters in, and they had to be engaged with the lesson.
So tell us a bit more about, like, for the people who haven't discovered Curapod yet, tell us a bit more about what... Yeah, here we go. But yeah, tell us a bit more about, the kinds of things you do.
It's a Norwegian company. And when it started, I think it was there's 3 of them started it out. I think they've now, there are 20 or 30 of them now. If you imagine an interactive PowerPoint,
Yeah,
that instead of just looking at the screen, you can have polls like Mentimeter and word clouds. You can have kids answering questions and voting on their own questions. They've now built in AI feedback, so kids can type in an answer and the AI gives them feedback. You can draw it and it gets AI feedback. So it's a complete, the AI feedback drawing's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's this completely interactive, what's the best way of putting it? I don't want to call it a PowerPoint because it's more than that, but it's an interactive deck.
Yeah, an experience.
The kids feel like they're playing a game. It's not work for them. It feels like they're playing a game. And for me as a teacher, I've streamlined everything, because you know what it's like. You're sitting in PowerPoint and you're going, oh, what animation will I put? And you sat there for 10 minutes trying to work out, do I want to bounce? Do I want it to come in? No, it's clean. It's simple. You don't waste time. It can make the lessons for you. You can upload your own. But the biggest thing for me is that this platform gets everybody in the classroom involved. I have watched the quietest little soul, and we've all got these kids who sit up the back in the corner and they slink into your room and they sit down and then they don't move again and then they slink back out again.
Yeah.
Because the answers in this are anonymous. There's nothing on the screen. I'm pointing as if there's a screen behind me.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's nothing goes on the screen with their name on it. They feel a security that I can have a go at this answer, and nobody knows it's me. So if I get it wrong, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they can see everybody else's. Yeah, it is a safe space, and they can see everybody else's answer up there, and they go, "Oh, that was a good bit. That was a good bit. I'll steal that idea." And if they get a good bit, if you're voting on it, and you can see them going, "Oh, I've got votes. Oh, my votes. People like what I did," and that gives them the confidence. So the next time they try it, they believe in themselves a little bit more.
Sure.
And it's pulled the quiet kids together. In some cases, it actually settles the more disruptive ones down as well. Because if they don't get to take part, they're like, oh, everybody else is getting to, and I'm just, oh. So for me, it's the interaction. It's the anonymous nature of it. It's getting everybody doing the same thing at the same time. So you've not got group A working on, yes, there is a time for differentiation, but you haven't got this group doing one thing and that group, the whole class is working on the same thing. And what I didn't expect is the social aspect of it. So if they're writing an answer, I can see their answers in real time. Harry, that's looking really good. Emma, don't forget to start that bit. And they suddenly start chatting to each other. And it's not about whatever happened. It's like, oh, what have you got in your answer? Can I see what you did there? Or if they're drawing, and they start helping each other out. And again, they don't realize they're doing it because to them, they're just playing. They're just having like this game. They start helping each other out and supporting each other.
Wow.
And the class starts to, you have to see it to feel it, to believe it. But I've also seen, you do it in a CPD session with adults, and you give them a drawing task, and within about 10 seconds, there's this silence descends as these grown adults suddenly get very serious. Saturday, I had them drawing their ultimate spring garden, and you could have heard a pin drop in the room as all these adults are going, where's the colour? I can't find it. And you can see them helping each other. It's there. You'll find it there. And it's this engagement with each other that for me, you can't get any other way. And the fact that I can have a class of 30 and I can give that class of 30 feedback within 60 seconds because the AI feedback element is there. Brilliant. Now, I've spoken to the kids about it on all the year groups. How do you prefer the AI feedback? Do you not? And the general consensus is, we like it in class because it gives that sort of, I'll do the answer, I'll get some feedback, I can improve it. We don't want it for assessments because we actually want you to see it.
I like that. They're still looking for that personalised learning. They're still looking for the
teacher. When it's an assessment, they want the teacher to look at it. They trust you. But the flip, I always remember this. One wee laddie said, I like the AI feedback because it doesn't know you. And I looked at him and I was like, what do you mean? He says, well, you know the teachers that like kids, they always give them good feedback and I get rubbish feedback.
Wow.
The AI doesn't know who I am.
That's interesting.
Isn't it?
The AI doesn't come with any other baggage.
Yeah.
Prejudice.
It just gives them feedback on their answer. And I thought, you guys are actually thinking, well, see, when you start talking to them, they understand it at such a level. And they're so critical of it and they love pulling it apart.
That's amazing. There's so much to unpick in that.
You know, there's a Z in it, miss. That's got an American bias in that answer.
Ooh.
Wow.
Or they start, that's right, miss, actually. How old is this? How old is the AI behind this, miss?
That's
So they're
incredible.
starting
Great question.
to pick up.
That's
We wouldn't-
fascinating.
would we have been asking these questions 5 years ago? Never mind. Yeah.
You know. Oh, so for
No.
me, it's done a lot for me, and it's done a lot for the kids. I genuinely 95% of my lessons are on Curapod now.
That's
Whether
amazing.
I'm using it just as a PowerPoint copy, because there are times for death by PowerPoint. There are times it's just right, death by PowerPoint. And then other times, okay, we're going to do this question. You're going to get some feedback. You're going to give me feedback, and your feedback, we're going to try it again. And tomorrow, assessment. And then they go into the assessment feeling that bit more confident because they've already had a go at it, and they feel a bit braver.
Brilliant.
That's incredible. There's so many different benefits going on there,
Oh,
aren't there? Like, it's not even just a one thing. It's like, okay, so
No.
they're more engaged,
Yep.
but also they're supporting their peers with learning, and they are contributing in a way that they never have before.
Yeah.
And
it eases the teacher's workload because I'm not taking in 30 jotters to mark one question and go, right, I've got to get these done, so I've got to get them back to them tomorrow. Or, sorry, guys, I didn't get them done. Here, take the jotters. I'll bring them back in. How many times do you remember to take them back in?
and how
what
many
happens
times did they ever read your comments?
Aye. And if you give them the feedback the next week, are they really remembering what they did?
Absolutely.
Whereas if they get feedback 30 seconds later, they're remembering the question, they're remembering their thought process, they can see their question in front of them. Okay, I did that wrong, or I did that right, or I did... and you've got kids shout, Miss, have a look at mine, have a look at mine. Okay, I'll come and have a look at your flaming answer. Calm down. Chill out.
And so, see, in terms of like, so I'm imagining if there's like an educator listening to this who's still, a wee bit one at the back with the arms folded.
Me,
And they're
3 years
thinking,
ago.
yeah, you 3 years ago. And they're thinking, yeah, but I mean, I've got tons of like old resources and PDFs, and all my PowerPoints took me years. How quick was that? You're saying now that all your lessons are on Curapod. How much effort and time and like technical know-how did that take?
No technical know-how whatsoever. Genuinely, not a Scooby.
Yeah.
Because I started out by uploading my own PowerPoints,
Right.
which you can do, and a lot of the likes of quizzes and things. I think the new Padlet version's doing it.
Yeah.
Magic Schools, a lot. You can upload your own stuff, so you're not talking about throwing away your resources, because we've all got our resources. We all know they work. You've got years. I mean, modern studies particularly, we have to change our stuff every year.
Yeah.
Right,
Politics really kicks off. You're changing it 5 minutes before the kids walk in the room. Right. Thanks, Nicola Sturgeon. I'll just change that. So you're changing it. So you don't want to throw it away. So you just upload this stuff, and then you can add it in. And it's playing. When I started messing around with all this, I'd be sitting in the living room, cheeky glass of wine at the weekend, bag of nibbles, laptop. Oh, this is fun. Oh, I'll add that in now. Oh. And I was enjoying it. You weren't sitting there going, right, I'm going to Google for 20 minutes to try and find this one example I need.
Yep.
And then I'm going to spend another half an hour trying to find it. You were just, AI, you check it. You always double check it.
Yep,
but
of
it's
course.
just so much quicker.
Great.
So much quicker.
Essentially, what that one app has done for you then is empower you to completely transform the way you deliver learning in your classroom.
Completely. It's the way I taught pre-COVID is entirely unrecognizable to how I teach now. Utterly unrecognizable.
And what about your staff room colleagues? What are they saying to this?
I know a couple of my colleagues, my faculty, I'll walk down and you can hear the Curapod music going, and you're like,
oh, yes. You're like, the ripples are starting to have an effect.
So it's starting to smell it. There's an English teacher using it. There's a couple of my faculty starting to use it. I've done a few sessions with DigiLearn Falkirk. We've been doing some webinars on it. But it's slow, because I think, like I said to you guys earlier, there's this Teflon jacket that teachers put on so that any new ideas that throw at us bounce off, and we just sit there going, no, I'm okay. I've got my stuff. Leave me alone. It works.
I get that.
It's just going to have time. Time I don't have. And yet, like anything new, it takes a bit of time to get used to ChatGPT, or it takes a bit of time to, but the newer platforms and the changes are so user-friendly that even a numpty like me, who has got no technical expertise whatsoever, can make them work. And more of them, I find, are working with teachers. And that's where you find the good ones.
Absolutely.
That's the ones you want to hang on to. The ones that actively reach out to teachers and say, could you take a look at this? What do you think? What do you need? Not what fancy bling stuff we can make, but what do teachers actually need? They're the ones you want to keep an eye out for.
And see, when you're so in terms of curate, like I had to play around with curate like about a year and a half ago, and it was in terms of making a presentation from a prompt. That's what I used it for at that time. Yeah. So I've not actually been back on it to see what developments have transpired since then. But am I right in thinking that if you had mobile phones in your class, so there's a lot of schools do not have iPads one-to-one?
So long as you've got something that can scan a QR code.
Yeah, because one thing I think is really interesting, and there's a big debate going on about this, like nationally, internationally, is mobile phones in classrooms. And because I've always been an advocate for EdTech, I've always seen that mobile phones could be a fantastic asset in the classroom where the activities are purposeful and require that technology. So what would you say to that? Like if there was a school where educators were reporting, disengagement and they're just sitting on their phones all the time, is there a way to rethink that?
Get them using if they're going to have the phones out anyway, get them using it for something productive.
Yeah. And you've seen that hands-on in your real life.
Mm-hmm. What I saw was our guys in Falkirk all have iPads. We all have one-to-ones. But very few. One of the big problems is, they've never got their iPads. They've never got them charged. They've got their phones charged, but they never had their iPads charged. And what I found was the more I was using curate, quizzes, Padlet, the more I was using them, the more the iPads were coming in. Mm-hmm. They weren't going, if I don't have my iPad, this isn't as much fun. I can do it on my phone, but it's harder to see on the small screen. So I've been finding the phones going away, although I'm not going to deny I still have a few third-year girls that I can only identify by the top of their head.
Sure.
Parents' night, could you just, it's you, okay. So it doesn't go away, and there's still issues with it. But the iPads are coming out and they're replacing it. But if you haven't got devices, yes, you can do it on an iPad. And I think the trick is to make it purposeful.
Yes.
So even if it's just a retrieval quiz at the beginning.
Yes.
Or, just one, okay, right, we've had our play with our phones. Let's put them away. If the phones stay away, we'll have another one at the end of the lesson.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of stick and carrot kind of thing. We've had the phones out, we've played them, great, put them away. If I don't see them again, and the kids really enjoy their quizzes and their blue kits and their quizzes. They really like doing them. So, and I've seen them go, put that away.
Don't ruin it for me as well.
I want the blue kit. Because they know I've got a box full of stickers they can rake through for their prizes. Thank God for swag.
And you know what? I really value, I really respect the fact that you were so open and honest with us at the start of this conversation about how low you were feeling. I think this is a really serious issue that, not many of us are often brave enough to talk about, but there are some real concerns around teacher mental health and, workload. How's that for you now then? You've been on a journey here and how are you feeling about teaching again?
All honesty, I'm still looking at getting out in about 4 years.
Right, fair.
I'm still looking to get out. But what I've got now is 4 years that I can see a plan through.
I like that.
Yeah.
I can see that I can achieve it. I can see, and the workload has lifted. I'll give you an example. I was messing. I've got a week next week that I didn't have. I've finished my unit with my first years, and I thought, God, and we're doing the UNCRC and AI. I thought, what do I want them to do? I thought, I've never done videoing. Because I had passed S2s in the corridors going around with these beautiful little rubber ducks. And I stopped. I was like, what's with the rubber ducks?
Yeah.
And they were like, we're doing stop motion in English.
Wow.
Oh, that's brilliant. So they're going around the school and they've each got a little rubber duck and they're stop motioning them. I thought, I wonder if I could get the kids to do AI videos or UNCRC videos.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd never done this before. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to use the video. I don't know. Matthew Weems, who you may have seen on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
He's got, there's a prompt he's put up. I think, what is it he calls it? The transform assistant or the transformative assistant.
Okay.
Put that prompt into, I can't remember if it was Gemini or ChatGPT.
Sure.
And just said to it, this is what I want to do. I've never done anything like this before. Can you help me? I'm really worried about how it's going. Because now that I've discovered if you're polite to it, it works better. And it does.
Great.
Something that I thought was going to take me about 2 days to set up, I did in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It wrote me, genuinely, it's amazing. It wrote me a worksheet for prepping the class. This is what you're going to do. Here's your worksheet. Here's your worksheet for thinking about filming, making sure to be even things like don't disturb nearby classes. Here's your worksheet on how to do Canva. Here's your beginner's guide worksheet on how to do Canva. And I'm just sitting there going,
fantastic.
And I just had a conversation with it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you need? I really don't know how to explain Canva to them. Could you help me? Have a worksheet. Copying. And at first I was like, I could go into Canva and I could make this fancy and I could do this. Like, no, just put it on a Word document for now. Let's trial it. Let's see how it goes. We'll worry about getting fancy. But something that a couple of years ago would take me days, if I'd even had my brave pants on to attempt it.
Sure.
I put together in 10 minutes. And that's 5 days worth of lessons next week that by the end of it, hopefully the kids will have done their own little video editing, presenting on either the UNCRC or AI and their human rights.
It's amazing.
10 minutes.
Incredible.
Yeah. Okay, I've stolen the prompt from Matthew, but he's put it up there for anybody to use.
Yeah.
He's shared it.
Use it. He's sharing it, which the EdTech community, as you guys know, is amazing for doing.
Yes.
And I've got something that I could not have generated on my own. Just could not have done it.
No.
So workload.
Yeah. And
that's fantastic to hear.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Like, workload is, like, there's so many examples we can think of teacher workload. And this is where the technology can really help us.
As like all new things, when you're learning it, you're going to have to put a bit of time in. And this is what a lot of us are shouting about, that how are we really spending our in-service days?
Yes.
Sure. Are we really using them to the best of our ability? Would it not be better to say to people, have a day off timetable, go and have a play around, come back and try it out?
Yeah.
Rather than sitting there listening to somebody else who's been paid however many thousands, hasn't been in a classroom for 10 years, and is pontificating about how, this is, away with you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So how do we free up that time though? Like that, there must be something that could be done here to facilitate. Remember the COVID days when we all had kind of like time to think?
Like sit in a corner and cry.
Well, you did, but there was also...
You spent 6 hours putting a lesson together and you got to answer the same question 6 times. Going, it's on the team! It's on the team! Oh, you write the team! No, it's on the team! My husband knew kids by name, listening to me shouting about them from down the stairs.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I don't know how we free up the time. Part of me wonders... We have a plethora of probationer teachers.
Yes.
I mean, we have overspill, and I think home economics is about the only one that we don't have an overspill in.
Right.
All of us have to take these probationers.
Yep.
Can we not use these probationers to give some of the senior staff some time, a day, once a term, to go and play with things?
Yes.
Sure.
And there not be pick up in this, or not probation. I know somebody's going to turn around and go, Mrs. Wallace, the legalities of particular. I'm not a head teacher.
You're spitballing.
We're throwing it out here, man. We're outside the box.
Exactly.
I don't even know what the bloody box looks like. There has to be a way of doing it. Because if we don't, once again, I don't think we're doing what we're set up to do. We're not preparing students. We're not helping our staff. I'm sure my school's not the only one that's doing health and well-being things like, let's all go 10-pin bowling, or let's all have a something or other session on our insert. Sure. No, I don't want a well-being session. Give me the afternoon to go and sit and have a play around with AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't make me sit through another. Just give me the time. I think most teachers would say to you, "Give me the time in my classroom."
So what is that? So if we were given, let's say 2 hours, we were able to provide every teacher in Scotland with 2 hours of just go and find out something. What are those spaces that you recommend they'd start out with? Is it Curapod? Is it exploring what AI can do for us? Is it using things like Teams and seeing what changes there have been to that? What should they go and have a look at?
I think a lot of people need to go and take back another look at Teams. I think a lot of us have got PTSD from COVID and Teams, right? I think a lot of us do. It's not ideal. I'll be honest. It is designed for adults in a corporate environment, so it's not ideal for kids. But for a lot of us, unless you're in a Google Classroom, that's what you've got.
Yeah.
For me, we need a culture change in being prepared to go and watch each other teach and go and talk to each other about what works.
Sure.
I don't know if this is a Scottish thing or if it's a UK thing or a teacher thing, but we are terrible at going, I've done this and it worked. Do you want to come see?
Mm-hmm.
What would more likely to go? Do you want to see the disaster I had? Yeah. That's what we'll do in Scotland. Yeah. This was an absolute riot. You should come and see it. Whereas, what we should be saying is, okay, I managed to get ChatGPT to help me do this. Or I used quizzes and I did this with it. Do you want to come see how I did it?
Yeah.
And get teachers sharing. It's like this Pedigree thing, which I'm loving because it's teachers helping teachers.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's not teachers standing there going, I'm an expert. It's teachers just going, come and have a chat with me. My schools try to do something similar to it with our CLPLs, our continued learning groups. Mm-hmm. And at the end of this term, for some reason, somebody had a brilliant idea of giving us an in-service day on the last day of term.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. But what we're doing with it is we did it last year, and you kind of set up your stall. And so Gavin in English and myself, what had he been mucking about with? I think it was Diffit, and I'd been Curapod. So we'd put examples up, and people, what have you been doing? Oh, do you want to have a play around and see what we've done?
Yeah.
Kim, who deals with a lot of the EAL kids, was showing people how to use Google Translate. And it was just people wandering around with a cup of tea and a biscuit, having a chat. Oh, I've not seen that before.
Yep.
That's what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
So that 2 hours, go and find somebody who's doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Go and find your people who are having the same problems. Has anybody tried anything? Oh, could you show us what that looks like? Mm-hmm. And just try, or find other people who wanted to try ChatGPT or Gemini. Falkirk Council's just given us all access to Gemini.
All right.
So it's the, oh God, I can't remember the proper term, but our data's not getting received. So we can use it. You're obviously still not putting kids' data in, but the data's not getting used for the training model.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Go and sit with your buddies and plan a girls' weekend on Google Gemini.
Yes.
See what it does. Go and, I love my garden. Go and get it to pretend it's Monty Dawn and tell you what you should be doing in your garden. Cardigan optional. Just sit and have it in a relaxed atmosphere so it's not that tense. I'm stuck in a cold or sometimes too hot assembly hall on an uncomfortable chair.
Yeah.
I'm dying to go to the lube. I'm not sure, even as a grown adult, if I'm allowed to get up and go because everybody will watch me and know what I'm going to do.
Yep.
It's take the strain out of it. Holyrood, is it not Holyrood? Is it Hindland? In Glasgow, I think, has just been...
Yes, I saw that. Yes, I saw you comment.
They got a very good one,
for encouraging people to go in and out.
Yep.
For me, that's where it needs to come from. This whole... I know EdTech's been around for decades now, but it needs to come from the ground up. So all of us tech phobics, we might not become tech lovers, but, tech adjacent.
Yeah.
So we just feel a little bit braver about bringing it in. And it's not somebody who you go, oh, they're an expert. It's people like me who hasn't got a flaming clue and is still at the switch on and switch off to see if that works stage. Mm-hmm. Get them to support each other and then you can build on it from there.
Mm-hmm. And so it's in terms of AI, I'm assuming what we're like... Is it, for me, AI, the thing that's so powerful about AI is the lack of requirement for technology skills. You literally just need to be able to type.
Yeah, so if you can type, you're laughing.
Yeah.
If you can talk to another human being,
Yeah.
you can talk to this.
Mhm.
And you will get results to it. I mean, in some of them, you can talk to it. You don't even need to type. You just hit the speak button and it'll speak back to
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a whole other avenue of differentiation. But
And
yeah,
has that
I
been
think
the game changer, do you think? Like, because, like, you know, you were saying you were kind of like, you know, not tech phobic, but tech reluctant. And yet you have completely embraced AI tools. Like, is it because
once I realised that you don't need to be able to haul apart a motherboard and rewire it, you can just, you go, oh, I wonder what that button does. And you realise you don't blow up the country.
can't
Or
break
your own
anything?
machine. It did that. Oh, I wonder what else it does. And it is, I describe it as playing. And I think that's the change. The EdTech has now got to a point where the skills of the guys and the ladies behind the scenes is so good. And they've been talking to us teachers. Don't let the English department hear me say that. Oh, for God's sake. They've been talking to teachers more regularly now.
Yeah.
So they know how classrooms work.
Yeah.
They know what works for us and what doesn't. That it is a case of you can just touch a button. So I didn't start teaching till I was 30.
What did you do before that, Aileen? What did you do before going to uni?
When I left school, I went to drama college and dance college to be a dance teacher, darling.
Amazing.
So one trained for 3 years. And then one injured oneself so badly. I came out of school. I hated school. I could not wait to get out of school. In fact, my modern studies teacher and I in sixth year came to the decision that I wouldn't turn up and he'd mark me present.
That's very funny. The fact it was modern studies as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's where I was at school, because I went off and trained to be a dancer and a dance teacher, and that was going to be my life, and then that fell apart.
What did you hate about school?
Everything. I hated being told what to do. I hated the timetable. I hated having to move around all the school at that point was not right for me.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in retail for a few years. And let me tell you, when you've done a couple of Christmases in the body shop and back to school at Clark's and Easter and Thornton's, suddenly school looks quite good.
Aye.
So I went to uni. So I came in at age 30. So I came in with a different attitude, I think, to teaching. So I was possibly more prepared to go, still learning.
Yeah.
You know, lifelong learning. I had to get into uni. Your hires only last 3 years, apparently. So to get into uni, I had to try and go get my qualifications. Because they were too old. The fact that I came out with one hire, but never mind.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to school to try and do my, now it wasn't NAF. What did we have before NAF? Standard grades.
Standard grades, yeah.
I needed to do my standard grade maths. So my friend's mum was a maths teacher. So I finished work on a Thursday, worked to her house after some work, tried to stay awake, did my maths lessons. And then eventually at 24, 25, had to go back to my old high school, sit in the assembly theatre amongst 15-year-olds and sit my standard grade maths exam.
No.
With all my old teachers going, hello, how are you? Yeah. What are you doing back here? I'm sitting my maths exam. Yeah. And then I failed it.
Whoopsie.
So, you know, I did a year at John Wheatley College in Glasgow, and I got like a course that let you go straight into uni. So I've taken a different route to a lot of teachers. So I think for me, still learning is just part of who I am.
Yeah.
And dad was in community education up in Inverness.
Right.
So for him, life was always about learning.
Yeah.
So that was instilled in my brother and I, which I think was what's so infuriating when neither of us did well at school. But, you know, it's always about learning new things. It's always about learning new skills and being brave and putting your big brave pants on and saying, no, I'm going to do this. And if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. I move on and I try something new.
Well done you. Well done you for the 30-year-old you for going back to uni and, you know, after the, I mean, that's an important message for young people, isn't it, as well, that, you know, no wrong path.
No. It's easier to do it if you get it out of school, but you can still go back and solve it. I say this to the hires when I can see them getting stressed. It is easier if you get them now. but it's not the end of the world. You know, this hire does not define you.
Yeah.
This is not who you are as a person. And a lot of them get wrapped up in that, oh God, if I don't do well at this, I'm a failure.
Oh, that was absolutely me. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's drummed. You need to do this now. You need to do that.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Tell you what, spend 3 years at dance college, you'll soon know what it feels like being told you're a failure.
Oh no!
What was the injury that you got? Was that bad?
Knackered my hamstring, so I snapped it top and bottom. Ooh. And I also, a teacher pushed me one day doing box splits, and the sacroiliac joint sort of popped. So my pelvis was in 3 different parts.
Whoa. Sorry you asked now, Niall, aren't you?
Yeah, I know.
What the rest of them? But no, that was the main killers that did it for me.
Yeah. So are you able to still dance? Or is it more
God,
like
no, I wouldn't risk that on anybody nowadays. No. Maybe a bit of classic FM and a couple of glasses of wine on a Friday night as I'm swanning around the kitchen, but that's as far as I get.
Yeah.
I've still got my old point shoes. I've hung on to my old point shoes. Still got them.
Just put them in a
one of
frame.
them, and occasionally I will try and put them on and see if I can still stand on them.
Yeah.
But,
So see, Aileen, just to sort of think about like this whole business of transformation and change, like you've got a really, really powerful story here that I think is just what's so striking about it for me though is that you are openly saying I was one of those ones that sat at the back of the room, and yet now you are leading your own CPE sessions and being the person in the staff room and online. Yeah, and like that's just so incredible to me. But like, if you had a magic wand and you could, suddenly achieve similar transformation across our whole like system, like what would you do? What would be the big change that you would make here?
It's a big question.
It's a big question.
It is a bit of a biggie, isn't it? I think I come back to the comment about we need to change our culture.
Okay.
We need to stop being frightened of observations because we automatically see them as a critical critique.
Yeah.
We see them as they're going to see what happened wrong.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as an opportunity to find out what could be even better.
Mm-hmm.
What went well, even better if.
Yeah.
And we're not good at being told we do things well. Oh no. It's like when you say to somebody, oh, I like your dress. What's the first thing they say to you?
Aye, $2.99.
6 times Tesco.
Primark. Aye.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's it. Rather than go, no, thank you very much. No, how cheap it was. We need, instead of, so somebody says, oh yeah, that lesson went really well. Oh no, that one was rubbish.
Yep.
No, we need to do this open door. Don't be afraid to let people see you teach. You know what you're doing. There's still room for learn. But I think until we get over that, and I don't know if it's a Scottish thing, a teacher thing, I don't know what it is, until we are prepared to keep learning and admit, like you were saying, we still have things to learn.
Yeah.
Whether it's EdTech, whether it's AI, whether it's a behaviour management, whatever it happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that change comes from the bottom up or the top down or where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as teachers, as educators, as schools, we need to stop the idea of watching other people teach being a challenge. We need to see it as an opportunity.
I was just wondering if there are other professions we can think of that have achieved that. Because... like it must be kind of standard cultural practice in certain like workplaces and like maybe medicine. Is it like medicine? I feel like, in medicine, there's if someone's doing an operation, there's a kind of, on TV shows. I mean, I'm not basing this on real life, but in many,
Casualty.
I've got better taste in Casualty. But no, I'm only kidding. I used to love Casualty back in the day. But what I've seen in a lot of operating theatres represented on TV is a gallery where medical professionals can watch what's going on in the theatre. And that's very much like, I don't know if you've ever been in hospital, but one of my kind of like worst moments was when I was in hospital and they were like, do you mind if all these medical students just come in and watch and I'm like, yes, but do you know what I mean? There is.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe in medicine there's a better culture around that, learning
Possibly.
and being open to people learning from each other.
Sharing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think back to in retail where you would have the area manager come round to visit, and it's like an inspection. You'd spend a week getting the shop ready,
Yeah,
and you'd have a very close look at the rota and see who you'd put on that day. There were certain people that would definitely get that day off.
yeah.
I think we're the same in schools.
Yeah,
when we're
you're right.
doing like mini inspections or things, it's got to be everything's perfect instead of going everything's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's
That's
a
the thing,
learning-
they're only seeing a snapshot in that time
if
as
a
well.
learning outcome isn't on the screen, does that destroy the whole lesson?
I've been having some really interesting conversations just now with a friend of mine who's like, long story short, but her daughter has been attending an educational provision, a school where staff use first names. Okay?
Okay.
So the staff are called by their first name. The parents use staff's first name. And this has been really, really successful in breaking down barriers for that young person. The difficulty is she's in P7 and she's just about to move to a high school, and in meeting the high school was met by, my name is Miss McDonald and I'm going to, and the parent was a bit like, oh, but it was really good when we were, why do we not use first names? And so she's been getting a bit kind of like, discursive about this and speaking to other parents, and it made me think, well, actually, see, when you think about work, I can imagine 70 years ago, we might have gone into the mills or the factories and said, Mr. Wallace, sorry, sir, I'm late today, or whatever else, But, like when we're working with Google, they're not calling each other Mr. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so.
No.
It's not really the done thing in the workplace that we use second names like that. And yet our whole education system would get its knickers in a twist if we decided we're suddenly using. And a lot of teachers have been getting involved in chats and saying, but it's a respect thing. And I'm like, or is it? Do you know what I mean? Interesting one, isn't it?
It would be a shock to the system, but like you say, you wonder where it comes from, and it probably is one of those left over from the Victorian era.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're not wearing mortarboards in the classroom anymore. I was just having this discussion with a colleague of mine. When we started teaching 20 years ago, you turned up to work in a pencil skirt, heels, twin set, or a suit jacket, and the men were all suit and ties.
Yes.
Yep.
You don't see that very often now.
No.
I wore this today, what I'm wearing. Like, I've got a jumper and a black t-shirt on. Like, that's
quite,
what I wore today.
But I still see that quite a lot, especially in secondary schools. There is a lot of secondary schools that I visit where there's very much a culture that the male teachers are suited and tied.
Yeah. And you see this at not Christmas. You see this in the summer when people online. A lot of the times it's the male teachers saying, "What's the male equivalent to like a flowy dress for the summer?" Because you can't wear a shirt and like sports shorts.
It's one of the few areas for women of the upper hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aye, there's not many of them, Niall, so jog on. Poor men. Yep. Those poor men, Aileen.
Oh, get a lightweight kilt, you'll be fine.
But that's another one, isn't it? Like the dress. Like, again, I'm thinking factories. I'm thinking Industrial Revolution. It makes sense. School uniform. Makes sense.
Even Tesco's nowadays just give their staff a polo shirt and they wear jeans or trousers or something.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I've noticed that recently.
It's quite interesting, isn't it?
Again, we'll go back to Hindland. I think they've got rid of school uniforms, haven't they?
Oh, have they? Interesting.
I think I read in the article they've got rid of school uniforms. Yeah. And all the rest of us are going, school uniforms. I understand a lot of the rationale.
Yes.
About equity.
All the sides of it are there. Yeah. But sometimes I wonder, is it worth the hassle?
must be uncomfortable. Like, I had a chat with a group of teachers once where we were chatting about this, and they were like, "Yeah, but they're always much better behaved when they're in uniform." And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's just the odd days
much,
they get to come in on non-uniform. They're all hyper.
yeah,
It's
or
like, if they actually wore it all the time, it probably
Yeah.
wouldn't make much difference.
yeah, or are they just more themselves when they're wearing their own clothes?
And I guess there's a great parallel. Somebody who never touches digital technology, the class gets excited when they eventually bring out the iPads, brings out the Chromebooks, and so they're less likely then to offer that all the time because they see this heightened experience for the students. Whereas if that's available for accessibility reasons, for absolutely every lesson, for whatever reason that it's accessible for the classes, then you're not going to see that. And I had that back when I taught P1. I had a lot of play, and one of the stations that I put out regularly for our phonics was it was a quick video game I'd made on Scratch, and you had to catch the sound, and it was a bit of fun. And the question I got all the time was, but do they not just gravitate to that all the time and ignore everything else? And very simply, no, because it was available all the time. And they wanted to go to the new Lego that I'd put out, or they wanted to go out to the home corner where I'd brought in cereal packets and all these other things, because that kind of shiny technology had worn off and it was just a part of the tools that we had available to them. And so that's, it's a nice parallel to what you were saying.
It absolutely is. And with the phone thing and all the rest of it. Oh my goodness. Well, we could probably just chat all night, couldn't we?
I know.
I'll get the wine.
I know.
Great.
I think that's how these conversations always go. We just end up with
Isn't it?
like-minded people,
Yeah.
and we're like, we could chat to you all night.
Yeah.
So what's
absolutely.
next? What's next, Aileen? What's next for you? What's the next tool you're going to embrace?
Next, we are, like I said, Falkirk Council setting up a Falkirk Teachers AI Alliance, and I think what we're hoping to do is eventually get to a point where every school or every cluster has got a couple of teachers that can work as mentors.
Brilliant.
So they'll be trainers in their cluster or their school, so that you're not getting somebody into. So we start embedding it. Like I was saying, we embed it teacher to teacher. So that's the plan. We've got Falkirk's Learning Festival coming up at the end of March that Gavin Morrison in the English department and I are presenting on a couple of sessions.
Gavin Morrison, I remember him.
Do you remember Gav? Yes.
Gav
is there with his EdTech.
He was one of my favourites.
He's a lovely lad.
Lovely
He's an absolutely smashing lad.
Shout out to Gavin Morrison from Graham High.
Big shout out. So it's just trying to do more of that, and I keep crashing on with my blog because there's things bouncing around in my head, and I have to get them out before they drive me mad. And just keep learning. Just every week something different comes out, or somebody posts something on LinkedIn and you go, I never thought about that.
Yep.
Like the research paper that just came out that if you're polite to AI, you get better results from it.
Absolutely.
Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Really works though.
And it's working for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Say your please and thank yous, and it's very nice to you.
Yeah. Phenomenal, eh?
Right.
Phenomenal.
Where can people find you? You mentioned you've got a blog there. Where can people read
So
the blog?
I've got a
Where
blog
can they find you?
at aileen.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram with the same handle, AI with Aileen. It's handy getting that name.
Yes. You've chosen well.
It was my husband who pointed it out, and I went, so in LinkedIn, Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky as well, but I don't use it an awful lot at the moment.
Sure.
I'm still getting used to it. I have abandoned Twitter, the place of evil.
Same.
If anybody finds me and wants to reach out, I am more than happy to offer help or connect people up to other people, or try and encourage other tech skeptics like me to give it a go.
That's amazing.
Love that.
What a story. I love it. I love it. It's one of my favourite stories because
Thank you, Pam.
Well, we've spoken to a lot of people who've kind of been a bit like us, who've always been into this stuff. And actually to speak to you who's, self-confessed, not always been into this stuff. Bit of glow bashing at the beginning, but I was very kind of amusing. I'm imagining that the Microsoft Teams you're speaking about though is still too glow.
Yeah, it's still through Glow, so you've still got to go there. You've still got to, but you get through it and you get out there.
I think, do you know what though? Like, in defense of, like, I think in the early days we were trying to show Glow as this kind of like destination where you would find everything, and actually it's a username and password that helps you to access tools and
lots of
apps
other things
that would otherwise be difficult. So, in defense of it as a kind of idea.
Oh no, I mean, I'll defend it now.
Yeah,
I'll defend it now.
Yeah. At the time, no.
At the time, no.
Honestly, I was there as well.
Any
being
excuse to go to America.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you back. I'm glad you came back. And I'm
delighted to have been invited.
And I'm glad you're sharing your story with us. And good luck with the blog. Can't wait to see the stuff you discover next, to be honest.
Thank you very much.
It's just been a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Aileen. That was a brilliant conversation. Really, really fascinating to hear Aileen's story. This has been the Digitize Fully Charged podcast. You can find us on all the podcast channels. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified when our new episodes drop. If you want to catch us on social media, we're on all the usual places at Digitize Crew on most of the social networks. We'll speak to you soon. Thanks very much.